Hello, welcome to Reframing Mindset Podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity and practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframing Mindset Podcast. My name is Colin Brooks. I know this episode we're going to talk about sick days. Because as I said, this is one of the other non-tangibles of the business. And I said business of science that you have to actually do as well. Because when you get the business started, then you have to actually employ people. And people are humans. People are humans. You have to actually give them compensation and all this stuff. And we're prone to being sick as I'm recording this episode and I'm not feeling 100 due to weather and all those stuff. So like I said, life is really, the human life has a series of up and downs. So you have to be able to actually, what I realize, doing the work is that you have to actually accommodate for all these stuff for human errors, as we learn in science and stuff like that. Yeah, I have to account for human errors, like a lot of stuff. Humans get, people getting sick and stuff like that. That is natural, and it makes sense. Being doing this 9 to 5. I mean, being in the you being in the driver's seat and seeing yourself actually not feeling well, and then the supervisor actually giving you the leeway to say okay, you can go home, made me realize that okay, yes, the sick days is really valuable. And if it was some other situation where the supervisor be like, no, you have to stay there or stuff like that, it'd be kind of different. You'll be forced to work under the not best conditions, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh my god, bro. You'll be very sloppy on the job. And then, for example, you're doing science. Like, for example, you have code and stuff like that. All the virus and stuff from the sickness will contaminate your labs and stuff like that, and it will be really bad. So I said, sick days are really important, and I realized that. I know it's funny implementing all these stuff. I said it's so you know it's funny why, because I've seen all these stuff, and that's the thing about this podcast. Where this phase of the podcast is just in projecting into the future. All these things I'm talking about, you see, but what is that there's no business as yet, and that's the thing how that goes about in starting a business. That is, you know, similar like the um science as well, where like all like you go in and you see a business, you see a successful business, and you think that okay, that business was just up and stuff like that. But don't realize that the more successful business, there's a lot of planning, all those stuff that just came into more or the successful business you see now. There was a lot of they're there for a long time. They didn't start successful. They just became successful over time. You know, all of that is because the proper planning and then implemented stuff as they go on. Yeah. So I said the business of sciences or starting a business is really hard. I know it's good to actually be in the employee side of it, just to have a well established business, just to see how you go through the various stages, just to see if you actually implement a business, how to actually treat the employees and stuff like that. Because what happens is that employees are basically an extension of you. It's like they're like you're outsourcing people to basically do the stuff that you would do in the business so that you can focus on doing something else. So all these stuff that the normal employee will go through is something that you will go through as well. And you have to be able to actually say, okay, if I was in this position, yeah, this is what I would want for myself too. And now the sick days make sense. If I was sick, I would really want the ability to actually be able to go, leave without being judged of being sick and stuff like that. Understand the sick days now. And that's there's not much to say about this, but just that that's an important part as well. And thanks for listening and look for for the next episode.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
To be week 23, 9 to 5 experience. And it's like, bro, it's a mess. Like, I guess week 22, what I said, is basically right. It is like, you have to just basically just leave, just ignore the stats because you will be disappointed. And then what happens is that you have to just basically just focus on getting the basics down. And the weird thing about it is that in this week 23 is that you don't know if like you're being every day uh you're being coach, not coach, but you're being basically monitored to see if you're doing the right thing or not. So you're going